Guys, Mr. S here. Just wanted to get you guys started on this project. We're doing surrealism based on Magritte, and I want to show you guys how to get started in this program. So we're going to go into Bridge. I'm going to go onto my desktop, into my surrealism folder, into my originals. So here are some of the photos that I'm going to use. I'm going to go over to Photoshop. I'm going to go up to either you can click Create New or get used to clicking on File, File, New, or press Command N. And then what I want to do is I want to actually make an image here that's actually going to be right here, 19 inches wide by 13 inches tall at 300 pixels per inch. And the background, it's okay for it to be white. So if I create this, here's my whole image with a whole bunch of white pixels. Now, in order for us to get busy on what we're going to do, there's a couple of things that I want you guys to do. I want you guys to see how I have rulers up here. What you need to go is do View and click on Rulers and they'll show up, or you can do the same and they'll go away. But I want to show the rulers so I can actually start measuring out how I want this image to take place. If I click inside the ruler, I can drag down a guide and it can actually tell me, like, on the X and Y axis, like how far I am. And that's going to help us composite these things together and kind of work to making things in the rule of thirds. Now, one of the things I want to do is I'm going to open up a couple images and I'm going to show you how we're going to start comping them together. So I have a whole bunch of things that I'm interested in, like stuff that I've made. This is a TV stand that I made over the break. This is my cat. You know, all kinds of things that we're really interested in. As far as me, I'm interested in is the ocean, the pier, and palm trees especially. Here's me and my wife in the city of Orange, and we're looking pretty good there, if I don't say myself. And then, like, I show a lot of photos of these, like, agave succulent plants because I'm kind of really vibing on them. So I'm going to grab a couple images, show you how I want you guys to start laying this thing out. And then I'm going to go File Open, or I can, yeah, File Open. And I'll open up a bunch of different images in Photoshop. Oh, not put it in preview. So if I go into Bridge, File, Open with, I'm sure, Photoshop. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. So as things change, sometimes different versions, like this is 2019 Photoshop, they just updated to 2020. I'm not updating the lab just yet because they're really incremental changes. But one thing I want you guys to notice, this is the brand new iPhone Pro, and not because I'm special or anything, but I just want to show you the difference in pixels that this image here, or this image, or this image, have to when we're actually talking about something that's really high resolution and large size. So what I want to do is I'm going to break this out, and then I'm going to go select all. I'm going to select all of these pixels. I'm going to go to Edit and Copy. And then I'm going to go over to my image over here and say Edit, Paste. Now, as you can see, this image takes up this vertical axis, but not all the way horizon, obviously because it's a vertical shot. But to be honest, I can actually do anything I want to do with these. And the fun thing with succulents and leaves, and the one that I actually most want is this one right here, this shape. And so I can actually go up to Edit and Transform, and I can go rotate this thing around to any shape that I want. Also, if I press Command T, if I get the cursor to look like that, I can start to rotate around. If I hold the Shift key, it'll make sure that it goes exactly vertical. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make this just a tiny bit smaller, making sure that this button right there at the top, that link, is pressed down. Otherwise, you'll shrink your image and it'll get wonky. All right, so up here at the very top, if you ever get stuck, sometimes you need to actually set the transformation. So I'm going to click that and say, that's perfect. What I want to do is I want to place this frond, I'm going to call it, in a dominant location and in where we can use the rule of thirds kind of lead us into an image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go down here at the bottom and make a layer mask. And then if I go and I paint with black, if I get my brush tool and I paint with black, if I go over on my left-hand side, over here, if I click on the default, that's black and white, I can actually rotate that so the black is in the front. And now if I get a bigger brush, really big brush, I can start getting rid of some of this stuff. The white's going to show through because that's the background itself. With a really big brush, you can start getting rid of all the stuff that you want. And then you can always put things back in, because if I go back and get my brush and I flip it over to white, if I make a mistake, something comes back. If you use the eraser tool, it never comes back. So I'm going to go ahead and switch this back to black. I'm going to get rid of this stuff down here. Clicky. Now, what I'm going to do is I really want strong edges on this frond. I'm going to show you how to cut this out and make it really nice. So I'm going to go back up here to my lasso tool, get my polygonal lasso tool, and I'm going to make sure that the feather is at 0. And if I press Command plus, I'm going to actually be able to move this around. As you can see that I'm moving around pretty quickly in Photoshop, it's because I have my left hand working on the keyboard at the same time. Press and hold the keyboard spacebar down, it turns into a hand, and I can actually click and move around in the image itself instead of having to zoom in, zoom out, or using the sliding scrolly things on the sides. So what I want to do is I want to make a really accurate selection. And I'm going to go a little bit at a time because this is a really important piece, because it's the dominant image. And my work is actually going to be a bit about nature, a bit about me, a bit about life, and a bit about craziness, because, you know, surrealism. So if I just go up and I make selections and close this selection here, I'm actually working right now on my layer mask, not on the pixels. It's still on my brush tool. I can go and get rid of all this stuff in here. Now, when you want hard edges, you can actually turn the brush up to 100% hardness, and then all of a sudden you can see that I'm actually cutting to the edge of this actual frond, and I'm going to get out of there. And there's a little bit left over, which is not that big of a deal. I'm going to get rid of some of this extra stuff, and you can see the difference between a hard edge brush and a soft edge brush. So I can use a big brush with a hard edge to get rid of most of the stuff that I don't want right away. I'm going to hit Command 0, fit in screen, and go back up. So the first thing is place your dominant image in a focal point. Now, if you imagine an image, if I zoom out, if you imagine a tic-tac-toe board, this is almost in that spot. And it's eventually going to be, I actually might even rotate it around some. But in order for me to actually get this done, I'm going to say original ratio. This will show me there. I'm going to get out of my crop tool because I don't want to crop this. And then I'm going to go back in and Command plus to zoom in. And you can see that I'm being a little sloppy. It's just because I'm trying to do this fast. Because, you know, I'm not wanting you guys to watch a 20-minute video and listen to my voice for 20 more minutes every single day. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this thing out. And then you can see that I'm kind of dividing my space on these out of focus pickles, hate pickles, because I want them to be a hard edge to show that it's actually kind of in focus. And you can kind of cheat a little bit in Photoshop, but on curves like this, you definitely don't want to like cheat and have super cornery, you know, fronds, which is a fun word to say. It's also kind of difficult to talk and judge these at the same time. Move around a little bit. If I double click, closes the path. I'm sorry, closes the selection. I can press Command 0, and then I'm going to get my brush tool, and I'm just going to go ahead, Command Z, because that's what happens when you end up on the pixels painting black. I painted that whole thing black. I don't want it black. I actually want to paint out the pixels with the quick mask or the layer mask. So I'm going to press Command D, deselect, and zoom back in. I'm going to get the tip of this thing, and I'm just going to show you 2 more things, and then you're probably going to be able to get started from there, putting in your 2 main objects today in a way that kind of makes sense where you want them to be. What we're doing is we're roughing it in, and then we can work on our details later. Brush, making sure you're on your mask, get done at the brush, move it over, and then I can actually go and start cutting all this stuff out. So first thing's in. Now I'm going to go over to the next thing. Here's my cat, Kenny. And if I go and zoom into his face, his little face right there, he's yawning. I really want his body and his head, like the whole cat itself. And it looks like I need to clean the walls in my house. Jeez. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut Kenny out. It's really easy. I'm going to go Select All, which is Command A. I'm going to go Command C, which is Copy. I'm going to go over to my project. I'm going to press Command V, Paste. So all I did was copy all of those pixels over. And I want you guys to notice that a 13 by 19 inch image will not be able to be shot with an iPhone, no matter if it's brand new or if it's older. So you guys are going to learn a little bit about resolution in this one. And so the same thing, I can go down here, I can go and make a layer mask, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and brush out, you know, everything around Kenny. I'm going to rough everything in, and then I can go and get really tight inside in here. Oop, got rid of his ear. Command Z, get out of it, you know? These are really easy ways to, oops, one more time. Kenny's ears have had enough trouble in his life. I think he used to be a big fighter in the old neighborhood. So now I can get my move tool and I can move Kenny to where it needs to be. Well, the big question is you need to create a dominant image first and then have a subordinate image second. So what I really think that this project is going to be a lot about is about Kenny. So maybe this image needs to be smaller, but I'm going to grab a couple other things first. So if I go into Bridge, I can just press Command and Tab and go to my other programs. I'm going to grab this image, I think here. Yeah, that sounds good. Open with Photoshop. And I'm going to go Select All, Copy, and then go Paste. So the vertical dimensions are big enough, but they're not horizontally big enough from an iPhone for this format. So now all of a sudden I have a couple different things. I'm going to grab this layer and put it on top and see where I might be able to put this. I'm going to click that and move it around. I think I might want some of these. I might want the pier in there and these palm trees to be in the background. So maybe I'll move those back down underneath. And then we can really start working with what we want our project to be about. So I hope you guys had a little bit of understanding here. Quick mask, layer mask, brushes, black to conceal, white to reveal. And we're just going to keep on pushing. So you guys should have something laid out for class on Thursday. If you guys need extra time, as always, come in for office hours. And we'll see you soon. Take care of the sub. Bye.